All right, welcome back to my Darling Bride podcast, powered by Refuge and Fortress Network. My name is Emmanuel O.
And I'm Lonnie O.
On this podcast, we dig, discover, and deploy biblical gems for the building or rebuilding of kingdom homes and relationships.
Yes, we are on a mission to equip couples on how to build on a rock-solid foundation, cultivate a culture of honor and respect, invest intentionally and consistently in your relationship, defend the union, and empower one another towards purpose fulfillment.
Absolutely. This is where love meets legacy. Love meets legacy. Love meets legacy. Welcome back to my Darling Bride podcast. Let's get it. So it has been a wonderful year thus far. Last month was April, and we had a theme that was get to know your host theme. And that really was bringing it back to us and talking about us, from how we met to
our
saying
story,
I do, from the way we manage finances in our family, our
faith,
family,
our values,
things like that.
Parenting.
So, I mean, it was a lot. So we talked a lot about ourselves, our journey and our story. And I really believe it's going to be a blessing to somebody. We got a lot of comments. Somebody said, I'm not married yet, but this was a blessing to me. I really appreciate you guys. Another person said, I love an intentional couple. I mean, this is just an example of some of the things we heard back from people. And we just want to first and foremost say thank you all for always tuning in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yes.
We are now in a new month of May, and we have a new theme.
Yes.
We're in a new month of May, and we have a new theme. What is our theme? Marriage unfiltered. Marriage unfiltered.
Yeah.
So that means we're going to be unveiling the curtains, and we're going to be open it up. Right? And we're going to talk about some real intimate stuff that we believe are going to help you in your relationship. It's going to help you go from now to your next. And if you heard how we opened or did the introduction of this episode, we talked about bride, right? Essentially, we're trying to equip couples to bride. And what does that mean? Like you said, build on a rock solid foundation in Christ, right? That is R. That is B, rather. R is to cultivate a culture of not just honor, but also respect for one another, right? And then intentionally invest intentionally, invest consistently into your home and into your marriage, right? I mean, when we were going to get married, I bought a book and I read that book. Not that just something to help me prepare myself for marriage, right? I read a book on manhood. I read a book on being a husband. I read a book on being a leader.
Yeah.
You would think I was getting ready to do something big and major.
Take an exam.
You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is, it's marriage.
Yeah.
And for me, this is it. So I'm trying to make sure I do it the right way the first time.
Get all the knowledge.
That can
be helpful.
So that's one way of investing in your relationship, right? Consistently and intentionally.
Yeah.
What are we saying? To say that you don't know it all.
Yeah.
And you will never know it all.
Absolutely.
And it's actually a disservice to yourself, to your spouse, and to your marriage to think that you know it all.
Yeah.
So there's got to be an intentional and consistent, it never stops, right?
Yeah.
Consistent reinvestment into that relationship, pouring into one another consistently, right? And so that's BRI. And then D, defend the union. Let me tell you something. The devil wants to attack. He wants to destroy homes and relationships, kingdom homes and relationships. So you have a responsibility to find a way to defend your union, to steward that which God has given you in a way that makes God proud, and to steward your relationship in such a way that whenever there are cracks, you do everything you can to close that crack, right? To make sure it doesn't happen,
no
to
weaklings.
Protect that there are no weaklings. Exactly. So defend the union, because guess what? Look, you've done something that is going to probably change the trajectory of your entire life and your lineage. It's going to change the story of your family.
Yeah.
It's going to make you better. Your children are going to be better for it. It's a move towards breakthrough and deliverance. And the devil is not happy about
It's not
that.
happy about it.
That means you cannot leave your union defenseless.
Yeah.
You have to defend the union,
Union,
right?
yeah.
And then finally, not only do you want to build on a rock solid foundation, not only do you want to respect one
Cultivate,
another, not only do you want to invest
invest.
into your relationship, not only do you want to defend the union, you also want to be intentional about empowering one another. Empower one another towards purpose fulfillment. What is your purpose?
Yeah.
What is my purpose? How can we come together and work together
Exactly.
to ensure that we both fulfill our purposes
Exactly.
in God, right? And then how can I empower you? How can you empower me to ensure that I get to my goals, my the vision, my fulfillment,
ambition,
whatever God has given us as a couple,
yes.
purpose in life, you know?
Absolutely.
And so that's what this is about. So this month, Marriage Unfiltered. I'm gonna just pass the rest on back to you and just let you take it.
Okay,
from
so
there.
to start off the month, we're gonna be our topic or discussion is gonna surround what we call love languages.
Okay.
And I know some people hear that a lot, and some people might not understand what that means, but it's love languages and communication. That is our topic.
Okay.
How do we actually understand each other? Because you find that a lot of times some of the issues people have where they get to irreconcilable differences is because they lack communication. Not just communication, effective communication.
Not only that, they're speaking, but they're not speaking the same language.
The same languages. They're not hearing each other. They're not understanding
they're speaking
each
English.
other.
It's still English.
It's just not,
but it's not the same language.
So you have these issues where lack of communication is just destroying homes. So what are love languages? You know, how can we better communicate with each other? How can we better understand each other so that way we're fulfilling each other's needs and each individual in the home, in the marriage are happy and putting in the same effort as well to build this marriage. So that's what we're talking about this week.
And I love the fact that you said they're not communicating. Because you can speak and not communicate.
Yeah.
But what is communication? Communication is until and unless. Communication doesn't happen, rather.
Yeah.
Until and unless whatever you're trying to pass across has been received.
Exactly.
For example, there was a show we were watching, and they had to run from a place. It's like a relationship show and things like that. But they had to work together, right? And so they had to run from one place to a far distance, right? And they had to communicate with the other person that was on that side.
Yeah.
And the only way they could communicate was if they used those walkie-talkies. And to grab it, turn it into the right channel and speak into it, right? And then they would speak to the other person on the other side and then tell that person what to do, right? Yeah. One of them had an issue where she kept yelling and shouting and giving instructions on one side of the thing, but the other person on the other hand kept thinking they weren't saying anything. So he kept smacking the phone and saying, man, everybody else is moving, but this thing is not, is it working? He kept turning it and kept doing all kinds of stuff just
the connection is off.
Because there was no connection. They were both speaking, but they weren't hearing each other. That meant they weren't communicating. You follow what I'm saying? So a lot of times we could say, I talk to you all the time. We speak all the time. Yeah, but are we communicating?
Yeah.
Do you actually understand what I'm saying?
Is the message being passed across?
Exactly.
And did you receive it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I could be passing the message, but are you receiving the message?
And there's so many angles to this matter of communication because it just made me think about another kind of relationship. And we watch this relationship shows because
we're in the
you learn
business.
A lot of things too. You get to understand how people were in the relationship business. Exactly. You get to understand how individuals think and how they navigate the situation.
Yeah.
Where you have a couple, one is blindfolded and the other has to direct the other couple to the path they have to go. And in direction, you can't hold the person or walk the person through. You have to talk to the person. And you find couples where one person is talking, the other person isn't hearing.
Mm.
The other person is hearing what they feel they should do.
Mm.
Mind you, they're the blindfolded one.
Mm.
And the other person is like, but I'm telling you, go right. And
Yeah.
you're like, are you sure it's right?
Yeah.
I feel like you should be left.
Yeah.
I am going right. No, you're not. I can see you.
Oh my goodness.
You know, so that's another form of misconnection. Disconnection.
Mhm.
And this happens a lot in relationships and marriage.
Yeah.
That's just a physical representation of what happens
Mhm.
in homes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm communicating with you,
You're not hearing
but you're
me.
not hearing me.
Yeah.
You're not hearing what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah.
Therefore, you can't even understand what I'm trying to say because you can't even hear what I'm saying.
The connection to that, the connection from that to the love language thing is because love language is probably the most important language in any marriage or relationship.
Yes.
Because how can we have a relationship if there's no love?
Yeah,
But how do I know you love me if you don't communicate your love to me?
exactly.
But the question is, are you communicating that love in a way that I can receive
Exactly.
it? Or are you just communicating in your opinion, you're doing something, you're speaking, but I'm not hearing you.
Exactly.
I'm not receiving it as you're giving it.
Yeah.
And that can cause frustration, both on the part of the person giving it and part of the person that's supposed to be receiving it.
Yes.
Because effort is being put in on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not connecting.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, couples, you will find this in your home. You believe that you are doing everything you can to love your wife, to love your husband,
Right.
but they believe you don't love them.
Right.
And that's
Exactly.
because there's a disconnect somewhere. We're not speaking the same language.
Exactly.
And many a times we even make the mistake of thinking this language has to be communicated in the way that I want to receive it.
Thank you.
Or perhaps in the way that
Exactly.
my ex has received
Exactly.
it. Or perhaps in the way that my parents has received
Exactly.
it. And so I'm thinking everybody should be the same way.
Exactly.
But then you meet this new person who's like, no,
Yep.
I don't receive love like that. What do you do then?
Yeah.
Right?
And I love that you brought that specific part up because I that's what I was just gonna touch on now. Most of the time, the issue is we're given or showing our love language
Mhm.
based on what
Yep.
what describes our love language.
Uh-huh.
I like this,
Mhm.
so therefore I'm giving you this.
Mhm.
Mind you, that's not what you want.
Yeah.
That's not telling me you
Yeah,
love me. That's
yeah.
what you receive for you,
Yeah.
but that's not giving me. And that's a lot of times you have these issues in homes and in marriages where it's like you're not communicating effectively to each other.
Absolutely. So why don't you do this for us? What are the 5 love languages out there before we even dive into the conversation? 'Cause I feel like we already dove.
We're already kind of went in. Okay, so the first one, right? So we're talking love language. The first love language is word of affirmation.
Word of affirmation.
And that just means expressing your love through spoken or written words.
Okay.
For example,
Things like,
compliments. I love you.
Okay.
You look good.
Mhm.
You know, you leave a nice note for me. You used to write notes to me back in the day when we're living long distance.
Oh boy.
Wait a minute now. Where we going with this? But that's words of affirmation where you tell it to me. I hear it. You say it. I love you. You look good. You're beautiful. Words of affirmation is one. The second one is act of service.
Okay.
And this is doing things to help or serve your partner.
Okay.
Example, cooking a meal.
Okay.
You know, running errands.
Okay.
Helping with the chores without being asked.
Okay.
That's acts of service. Number 3 is receiving gifts. A lot of people love this one. Receiving gifts, feeling loved when giving thoughtful or meaningful gifts.
Matter of fact,
it's not just about money.
Yeah.
It's about the thought and the intent behind it.
Let me pause you right there. What's that, number 3?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of us men, we make the mistake of thinking this is the primary love language of women. We think all they want is gifts. And not only that, we also make the mistake. Let me say this. Let me say most Nigerian men. Let me just say most Nigerian men. We think money solves all problems. We think gift solves all problems. The lady she's upset. She's angry. She's expressing her disappointment. and here you go, Achalugo. Just give me your account number.
Give me your account number. Let me send you 500,000.
I just sent you 500,000, right? And we think that solves the problem.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, I can't blame the man because y'all take the money.
No, we'll take it.
Why?
Because who turns down money? Who turns down gifts?
Why?
I'm not gonna turn it down. I would accept it because you gave it to me. Yes, I'll take it. But that ain't solve the problem.
That's a missed signal right there. That's giving the wrong signal.
No, it's not.
If you take the money today, I'm gonna think tomorrow.
The reason why it's not is because though yes, these are love languages, doesn't mean all 5 should not be present in your marriage.
That's a whole different level now. Hold up.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that.
Right.
Okay. So let me go to number 4 because we're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, quality time. Giving undivided attention and spending intentional time together.
Undivided
attention. For example, going on dates.
Well,
date nights,
that's one.
You know, meaningful conversations, screen-free hangouts. Turn off the TVs. Turn off the phones. That's a big one because
a lot of times,
just hang out.
A lot of times, people think that they're spending quality time together by watching movies all the time. No, I think it's a form of distraction, really, because the focus is the movie, not us. And this is why many a times, right, in most relationships, Netflix and chill is more chilling than Netflix. In most relationships. Why? Because quality time is the mission.
Is the mission.
That's what it's about. Not necessarily the movie.
Right, exactly.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
It's the time you're spending together that's important.
If you find yourself spending more time Netflixing than chilling,
then you really just watching a movie.
Because that's a cop out, in my opinion, right? Once in a while it's fine. You know, you go to the movies, you enjoy your popcorn and things like that. You want to enjoy that movie together. No problem. Ain't nothing wrong with that, right?
Okay.
But if we go all day, for example, and we've talked, but our conversation is really updates.
Right.
I went to work. I came back from home. I came back from work. I grabbed the kids. I did this. I mean, you're giving me updates, and that's wonderful. That's fine.
But we've not actually spent
we haven't really spent
together.
time together.
Okay.
And the only time we do have to spend together, we want to use that time to watch a movie together.
Right.
And most of the majority of that watching of the movie, we're not talking.
We're not really talking.
We're not having a conversation. We're just zoned into that thing. And then once it's over, it's bedtime.
It's done.
And you call that quality time?
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. I
don't know about that.
All right. So screen-free hangouts. That's quality time, right? And lastly, you have physical
screen-free hangouts. Important.
We gonna get back to this.
Screen because we are in 2025 and a lot of people are stuck on their screens.
You know,
whether it's the phone, iPads, TVs,
a lot of couples
hangouts
actually can sit together without any of those distractions and actually have a conversation with each other. So yes, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
I agree with you.
It's a thing.
Number 5, physical touch. Physical touch. Expressing love through physical affection. Example, holding of hands, hugs and kisses, cuddling. You know what I'm saying?
Don't touch me. I don't do physical touch.
What? You said what? Okay. So those are the 5 words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Those are the 5.
And the reason why is so, I mean, we've talked about this already, but let me just buttress some of the points that we raised. It's very important that you understand these languages because this is how you communicate love. There's one thing to have love, is another thing to communicate that love, right? You can say you love me, but until I see it and I receive it, I don't think you do.
Yeah.
And it's let's say, for example, right? I remember, like, you know, our parents, for example, they grew up in a generation where expressing love was just not a thing.
Nah, it's not a thing.
You follow what I'm saying? The only way you knew they loved you was because they came back home every night.
Yep.
And they provided
for you.
Roof over your head.
Took care of you.
You know what I'm saying? They took care of you.
Yeah.
They sacrificed for you. They worked multiple jobs just to make sure that
Yeah.
you were good. And so without communication, you knew somehow you could guess
Yeah, you just
that they
kind of
loved
just
you, right?
yeah.
And that worked for them. For us, maybe not necessarily,
Yeah.
right? And I'm bringing it to relationships.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about parents,
Parents,
kids.
kids,
I'm
and
talking
all
about
that. Yeah.
couples,
Couples.
spouses.
Yes.
In 2025, you cannot be that kind of couple.
Mhm.
You cannot be that kind of husband that your father was, who just refused to show love, who refuses to communicate or express love in a way that makes the other person feel
Yeah.
that they are loved.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You can't be that way with each other. You definitely can't be that way with your kids, not
Yeah.
in this day and age, right? And so it's very important to know, what is my spouse's love language,
Mhm.
so that they don't have to guess that I love
That
them.
you love them.
They
Yeah.
know it without a shadow of doubt
Yeah.
that I do love them. It's important for you to know, so that you're not frustrated, because it sucks a lot of times when we are showing that we love this person,
Yeah.
but it's
It
almost
does
like they're
feel
not
like they're not
appreciating
seeing
it.
it
They're not seeing it, so it makes you feel very frustrated, like
on both
on both
ends.
ends. No, that's what I'm saying. On the part of the person who is giving it, and then on the part of the person who's supposed to be receiving it,
and feels like
he or
they're not.
she is like, man, this dude doesn't love me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's almost like, again, going back to those shows we watch, you have two different people in two different rooms, and they're being interviewed, right? You know
Yeah.
how you're watching the shows and they put them in like
in
a
the
confessional
confessionals.
room, and they're both confessing what they think.
Mhm.
And then so you've got one person on this side, and they break the
They
screen
put
in two different
into
parts,
different parts.
and you're literally hearing one of them frustrated,
Yeah.
confessing frustration, like, he doesn't love me, he da 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 da
Yeah.
da, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And then on the other screen, the other person is confessing their frustration, saying, she doesn't see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing all this for her.
Yeah.
I'm saying this. And it's almost like if somebody would just pause very quickly
Right.
and tell them to listen to each other.
Exactly.
Like, yo, stop.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hear yourself. You're saying they don't love you. You're saying, I mean, if y'all could just come together, have a conversation, and then say, I see you, I hear you, but I want you to tell me in this way, show me this way. And that solves the problem.
Yeah, I think the main issue that happens is we get blinded by what we think it should be. And because I feel like saying I love you is what it is. I'm telling you I love you. You should know that. Because you tell me you love me, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So me telling you that, how does that work? So we get blinded or just kind of just blinded by the fact that we just feel this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
And you're not receiving it that way.
Yeah.
But what we need to understand about this love language and communication is it's not about you that's giving it. It's about the person receiving it and vice versa. If you are on the giving end, it's less about you. It's more about the person on
Receiving
the other side.
yeah.
So that's what you need to focus on. How does this person receive it? How is it going to work? Aggression in terms of like, physical play and all that could work for you if you like that. But your partner might not like it. So you can then be that way with them too.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So you just gotta understand what your partner likes, what it is that makes that gives them that butterfly, that gives them that joy. What exactly is it? Just understand that it's not the same thing for both of you. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck there because the expectation of this is what it should be is where they get stuck.
Yeah. So what is your love language? Or what are your love languages? Hey, before you even answer that, you made a point that you mentioned that you think that
all five
should
be present. Yes.
Why?
Because in a marriage, you should have word of affirmation where you tell each other how you feel. You can't, it's part of communication. Now understand that, and I'm not saying it in the sense where it's like it has to be on a grand scheme, because for some person that's all they need.
Okay.
But you need to be able to compliment each other, talk to each other, and tell each other how you feel about each other. You need to be able to give act of service. You should help each other in your home. If I need help with cooking, I shouldn't have to ask you. You see me slaving away in the kitchen, and there's so much going on. I mean, we talked about this last week where the baby is crying. I'm in the kitchen cooking. I gotta go get the baby. So therefore, you step in without me asking, "Oh, Ayofe, can you help me? Or can you do this?" It just comes. That's act of service. Quality time. I mean, this is not a debate. You should have quality time in your marriage. If you don't spend time together, how do you expect to deepen the love that you have? How do you expect to grow the bond that you have? Physical touch. I mean, let's not even get started on that. If there's no physical touch in your home or in your marriage, Houston, we got a problem. I just feel like, to some extent, all 5 languages should be present in your marriage and in your home. Now, what tickles your partner's fancy in terms of what does it and tells them and shows them that you love them might be different. And that just means more emphasis on that love language.
Well, okay, so I think I understand what you're saying on that note. I just think that it may not be. So while they are present and probably should be present in the home to one degree or another, they may not be received as love or love language. Like you mentioned, there should be some form of touching in the home. I mean, if nothing else, you guys are having sex.
Right.
You are procreating.
Right.
You are pleasuring each other as married couples now, right? So that's touching.
That's physical touch.
That's physical touch, right? Now, you may not like PDA, which is public display of affection. You may not like touching and holding hands in public,
but that's different.
At least something should happen inside,
exactly.
Right? We're serving each other, helping each other out here and there, things like that. Like, these things may be present, but they may not be received as love. And so when we're talking about love language, I think it's okay not to have all 5 as a language.
And what I'm saying is, it might not be defined as love for that person, which is the whole point of what is your love language.
Exactly.
But my emphasis on it being present is, regardless, those things should be evident in your home or in your marriage.
What are your love language?
Whatever it defines as, that's up to you. You know what I'm saying? My love language, I got more than one.
You got all 5.
All 5.
You need all 5.
Okay, my number one. I'll start with my number 1. My first one is word of affirmation.
Word of affirmation.
Yes,
okay.
I like the I love yous. The compliments. You appreciate me. You tell me, like, I hear it. You text it to me. Just compliments. I like that. I think you've always done that from the very first time we met, and I've always appreciated that. So words of affirmation definitely does it for me. You get what I'm saying? I feel like it gives me
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm just messing around. So my second one is physical touch.
Okay.
And I wanted to say something because you mentioned something about physical touch.
Yeah.
And I think some time ago we talked about this. A lot of people mistake physical touch in love language as just sex. And it's not just sex.
It's not.
It's really just physical touch. You're holding hands, you're cuddling, there's some kind of physical affection going on between you. That's what it is. But that's my second one. I like when we hold hands, we're just all up on each other. I like that, public or not. I appreciate that, and I feel like that does it for me. So those are my top 2. I love receiving gifts. Don't get me wrong. Oh, that's how many now? Okay, I'm giving it to you in the order.
Okay. In the order of importance.
Oh
Okay.
Receiving gifts / quality type.
And then with a sprinkle of
as a matter of fact, all 5 is my love. No, but the top 2, my 2 is word of affirmation and physical touch.
Okay.
Those they do it for me.
For me, quality time. Quality time,
yes,
is big for me.
I agree with that.
And that is because I like to engage in intellectual um spiritual
Conversation.
conversations,
Oof.
historical conversations, and
Yeah.
things like biblical conversations and things like that. I feel like, and when you, right when you were just talking about your love language and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to interject and kind of ask this question. Is it important for you to know your spouse's love language before your spouse to be, right, whoever was gonna be your partner's love language before marriage?
Is it important to know?
Or do you think it's a thing that can be learned and picked up on after marriage?
I feel like I wouldn't necessarily say it's something to know before, because I feel like it could change for the person,
In what way?
in the sense where somebody might like act of service. I don't know. Over time, they just ended up liking spending quality time together.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? It could change over time depending on the individual. So I just feel like
It's
it's
an it,
something you can learn as you go
I
and
guess
as
it
you
is.
grow.
I guess it is, but it's
I
an
wouldn't say
interesting.
it's a necessity to know. I mean, there's things you should know before you get married. And I feel like once you're getting to know the person, you kind of already know the things they like. But I wouldn't necessarily say
I
it's
think for
a.
me, I think for me though, the I would disagree just a little bit.
Mhm.
I think you should know.
Okay.
Why? Because, for example, look at my situation, right? If when we met,
Mhm.
because when we met, right, we spent quality time together.
Mhm.
And we spent almost all night, well into the morning,
Mhm.
just having conversations,
Mhm.
deep conversations.
Mhm.
That was one of the things that did it for me. So
Yes.
if you couldn't hold a conversation, we wouldn't happen.
Yes, I
You
understand
follow what I'm
that.
saying? If, for example, you're big on physical touch, right? And you're big on words of affirmation, and I'm not. I'm like, okay, I get it, but like, I don't do that. Like, come off walk around, like touching each other and all that stuff. I don't know how to do that. And then to be writing down "I love you" before I leave, texting you randomly to remind you, it becomes work for me
Mhm.
if I have to learn
Learn.
that as I go. You follow what I'm saying? As
I've
opposed to if it's already inside of me. What am I saying? I'm saying if you have two people in front of you and you had to choose, your choice would be easier based on the ones who communicates your love language
Mhm.
in that moment.
Yeah.
In other words, if you showed up and somebody else showed up, I had a conversation with you and it felt like I was forcing it. It felt like I was disturbing you. You were bored. You didn't want to have a conversation. You wanted to stay shallow. You wanted to talk about whatever was going on social media and what happened to Cardi B and this person and that person. I'm like, okay, that's the extent of
Of your.
your compass. That's all you want to talk about.
Oh my god.
Okay, right? And I leave that conversation. I go to somebody else, and then we're talking Bible. We're talking history. We're talking about, like, for example, right now I'm currently learning about two empires, Ife Empire and Oyo Empire, and I'm learning deep things about the Yoruba culture, right? And I've been like doing some research on that and things like that. And as I do those research, I bounce some things off of my wife, and we kind of
Mhm.
have this conversation. And in that, I'm explaining things to you.
Mhm.
If that was gonna become a thing where you're like, yeah, I don't want to talk about
I
that.
don't really
I'm not,
care.
I'm not, right?
I don't really want to hear
That would
that.
be a problem.
Right.
That would be a problem.
I guess.
You know what I'm
I guess
saying?
my thought process is. No, I agree with you. It's something. It would definitely dictate your choice
It has
prior
to.
to getting married, right? And I feel like, I guess, to me, I guess my understanding is just that it comes naturally. For example, sitting there and having a conversation, that conversation could have been caution. I could have went about my way and you could have moved on to somebody else. I might not necessarily clock it in my head that, okay, that's his love language. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's what you're making my point though. You're making my point, because my point exactly is that these things, these love languages should come naturally to you, that I should be able to receive that from you without you
Without
even knowing you're
knowing.
giving it.
Right. Okay.
You're already doing it and you
Yeah.
don't even know.
Right.
And that is part of what makes me happy.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say about it too is I feel like to some extent you need to have a conversation about this too. Kind of asking like, what does it for you? Maybe not in the beginning of your relationship, because over time you get to know the person. But we've even had this conversation after after marriage, like
Yeah,
a
of
couple
course.
months ago,
Mhm.
where we kind of talked about like, wait a minute, so what is your love language? Even though we know each other and we know the things that we like with each other,
Mhm.
it also opens our mind to understanding that the person I met 14 years ago,
Mhm.
it's not the same person that I know today.
My love
So
language will never change.
I'm talking for you, maybe. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's
Never,
you because
never,
you are a
never,
special
never,
person.
never.
That's you. I'm
I
saying
never
in general,
change.
some people who
I
they were
never
14 years
change.
ago, can you
Never, never, never. Continue.
who they know 14 years ago might not be who they are today. Like, for example, somebody might have loved spending quality time with their partner. They could sit there for hours talking. Over time, life got busy. They didn't have time to really sit there and talk. Now it's just word of affirmation that does it and lets them know they love you. So I might not be able to spend as much quality time with you, but you're telling me, you're appreciating me, you're letting me know, and it does it for them. So I feel like the reason why I'm just saying that is over time you get to know who your partner is and
No.
who you're with, but I feel like you also learn even more as you grow.
No, absolutely. I think what you're talking about really is flexibility and adaptation, like being flexible enough to receive the change, because change is part of the journey.
Yeah, like
right?
when you met me, you could be throwing gift at me. Back then, I'm like,
Which I
let's
was.
go, let's go, let's go. What you say?
I said, which I was.
No.
But you didn't complain.
Let's go, let's
I didn't
go,
know that
let's
was
go,
your
let's
love
go,
language. I
let's
would have
go.
stopped.
But now it's like it's not a thing
It's
that
not a big deal for
no,
you.
no, hold on. Stop right there. That's not what I'm saying. I'll receive some gifts, all right? I'm not talking about don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't even go there. I receive gifts happily. Hello? I receive gifts. I'm just saying it's not the one thing that tells me you love me. Like you said, if we had an issue and you buy gifts and give me gifts, okay, I'll take it, but we still got the issue. That's still got to be resolved. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just gonna it's not just gonna do it for me. You get what I'm saying? So for me, I just feel like it's not what tells me you love me.
Quality time, very important. You want to know.
You're talking about your love language, right?
Yeah, that's my love language, right? I'm saying, but you do want to know
before
what is
you
your
get
partner's
married, right?
love language.
That's one of the things you
before you commit to that relationship. It's very important because you can be dishing it and they ain't taking it.
Oh,
it's very risky.
That's a problem.
Very risky, right? I know a guy whose girl would just bless him with gifts. I mean, she got him all kinds of luxury stuff and things like that. And you would think that was it.
Yeah.
That relationship eventually ended. And it's like, wow, all the stuff she got you, bro. And it's like, okay,
that's not enough.
That's not what I was looking for.
It's not
about
gifts.
It's not about gifts, right? You know, so it's very important. It's very important to know that. For me, I would say quality time. Number 2 may be physical touch.
Definitely physical touch.
I would say those two.
Definitely, if you need physical touch, I just top 2. I would be like,
oh no. Well, top 2, right?
Yes.
But honestly, so you definitely want to know that for sure. But again, language and communication, right? Now, in terms of the language and the communication and things like that, what would you say? Because now you're saying that if somebody brought a gift to you, you would say, I'll take it, but that doesn't solve the problem.
It's not even just about solving the problem. Even if there's no problem, it's not what
doesn't show you that you're loved.
It's not what tells me.
Okay. So how would you say over the years we've handled miscommunications, misunderstandings, and things like that?
From us, I mean, in our relationship, in our marriage, we are big talkers. We talk to each other. I feel like that's the one thing. A lot of people, some of these things don't need physical. It's only word of affirmation that requires you to actually say something. The rest is actions, right?
Yeah.
So some people might think, okay, that's enough, but it's not. You gotta balance it out also with talking to each other.
Yeah.
I feel like that has really been it for us. Communicating in the sense of talking to each other. We sit there and we hash it out. I mean, even as of recently, we've done that like twice where we've spent hours sitting down just talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even in the midst of talking, we've had miscommunication. And this happened like a couple days ago. We had a conversation about something. First of all, the conversation started about something completely different that led into something about us that just went left. And to be honest, we've grown over the years where it's like our communication has become much, much better.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As we spend more time in this life with
Yeah.
each other.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in the past, once it went left, we would have just ended it there and kept it moving.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. We just kept going back. And even in times where I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Or he was just like, yeah, I'm done. We'll draw each other back to get at it to the end, to the point that we ended up laughing in the end. The back and forth ended up with us laughing at each other and kind of just getting to a resolution. So I feel like talking it out has been one way of us handling it, and talking it out with our defenses down.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you're communicating and you come with your defense up, forget it until you break down those walls and actually just get vulnerable with each other. Say what's really on your mind. And talk it out. When they say talk it out, it's like somebody took it's like there's a whole cotton ball and they just breaking it apart. You get what I'm saying? Taking it out. You talking it out to the point till you get to the point where you get to the root of the issue and you can resolve it.
Yeah.
Literally, if it takes you hours to sit there and talk it, even through the conversation, you get upset, you get frustrated, you might just get heated. You might need to take 1 second, everybody just and then come back, but talk it out. I feel like that has really been our way, because in us talking it out, we found our way to then understanding what each other is saying.
Yeah.
And then the miscommunication has been resolved, because now I get what you were trying to say. What you heard was different from what I said. This is what I was trying to say. Or what I said wasn't what I meant, which happens a lot. I might have said it one way that came out a different way to you, but that's not really what I meant. But in talking it out, we've been able to kind of get to what the issue was. How did we miss this communication right here? How did we just mishandle whatever it is we're talking? And we've been able to kind of just hash it out. So I feel like one way we've handled it was definitely talking it out. If it gets heated, take a minute, take a breather, get away so it doesn't escalate, but talk it out. I feel like that's when we've handled it.
Absolutely. That is definitely one way we've handled miscommunication. I would also add that we've learned over the years to not let emotions dictate our conversation.
Yeah.
Right? We've learned over the years, like I think one of them you mentioned was letting your defense down. So don't go in there defensive. Listen to understand, not listen to respond.
Exactly.
And don't let emotion be the driving force of the conversation. Like the misunderstanding of miscommunication that you were talking about that happened recently, right? We're talking about something else entirely. We're talking about something that would move the ministry forward and just brainstorming and things like that, right? And somewhere in the middle of it, of that conversation, it just turned into, it sounded like it turned into finger pointing and things like that. And then we had to say, okay, wait a minute. What happened here?
Where did we just miss it?
Where did this conversation turn into this? We were just talking, brainstorming, bringing up ideas, writing things down. How did it turn into a full-blown argument or back and forth and things like that? So I think we handle miscommunication, number one, by being attentive. I would say I can say this for myself personally, right? Like I'm very attentive to, number one, what is the mindset behind this argument? In other words, am I having this argument, this communication, this back and forth to come to a resolution? Like, is that the end goal here?
Right.
Or do I just want to say what I gotta say
And
walk away?
Right.
Let the chips fall where they may.
Exactly.
But if resolution is the goal, then we're not going to stop talking it out until we find resolution.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you would see a lot of times in my conversation as we're talking and we're going back and forth. I say what I gotta say. My wife says what she has to say. She starts getting upset. And when she's upset, she starts to get emotional, right? And I'm saying to her, how does this help us right now? No, honestly, you crying, you getting upset, you getting emotional about this matter. How does this help us get towards resolution? Because again, if resolution is the goal,
right,
then we need to talk.
Need to figure it out.
Sometimes she wants to walk away and say, okay, I think I'm done talking. I don't have anything else to say.
Yep.
Again, how does that help us get to resolution? So you can't go nowhere yet until we resolve this matter. Where you going? I don't know. I just want to, no. Come sit right here.
Right.
We're going to talk about it, right? That's number one. So I'm very attentive to that. What is the end goal? Number one, I'm also attentive to noticing when this thing is getting out of hand or about to flip over to getting out of hands.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm sensitive to when you're upset and you start getting teary. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's leave this conversation, talk about it another time, because I would rather we talk about it when you're a little calm and less hot than just have you crying and, you know, saying I'm not listening to you or this or that, right? So there's sensitivity there.
Yeah.
And then there's natural sensitivity, and then there's spiritual sensitivity. Spiritual sensitivity in that, like, for example, what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The conversation started as, what do you think about this?
Right.
Oh, well, let's do it this way. Or let's do it that way.
Right.
What about this? What about, I mean, we were brainstorming, bouncing ideas off of each other, and then it switched into an argument that went longer than necessary.
Yeah.
And emotions started getting involved. Anger started coming out. All kinds of stuff. And it's like, okay, wait a minute.
From what
and it drew us away farther from what we were initially talking about.
Yep.
That's spiritual. And so if you don't have spiritual sensitivity to know that the devil has turned the conversation into something else, you would miss it.
Yeah.
And so what happened? I got calm. I got very quiet. I just let her go and talk it out. Whatever she had to say, I said, keep talking, keep talking. And then eventually I got jovial about it. That's very unlike me. Whenever we have an argument, I'm not like, we're going to talk about it.
What you laughing at?
But I got jovial about it.
Right.
And as I'm laughing about it, as she's talking, I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, but why is your veins popping? Like, why are you?
What are you laughing at right now?
What are you shouting for? Like, okay, so what's the point of all this? I'm doing that on purpose because I want to diffuse the situation.
Exactly.
I want to maintain control of the situation.
To bring it back to
I want to bring it back to a place of communication, calmness, and not hot emotions just flying out.
Yep.
And I really just wanted to let the devil know you're not going to hijack this conversation and you're not going to turn the temperature of this house upside down from this one conversation.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you've got to maintain those spiritual sensitivity. And that is how we kind of handle miscommunication and misunderstanding. Number one, if resolution is the goal, we don't stop until it is resolved. Another time, we walk away and say we're going to handle this a different time because right now is just not the best time.
Yeah.
Another way is we are sensitive. We're sensitive in the natural. We're sensitive in the spirit to know when this is becoming more than just resolution.
Yeah.
This is getting out of hands. Let's just end the conversation right here and let it go.
Exactly.
Sometimes she's quiet for me. Sometimes I'm quiet for her.
Exactly. I was going to say that. I was gonna add that part. I was like, in the part of sensitivity is also knowing when to just leave it alone. You know, there's times where we go back and forth and it's like you have that talk to just want to just keep going at it, and then I just get mute. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna be quiet. Let me just let it be. You know, he's pissed off. I'm gonna just let him cool down, and vice versa. Sometimes he'll just keep quiet and just let me just cool, like calm down, like what we were just talking about, and then we'll come back and kind of talk about it. So it's like being sensitive and knowing your partner too, knowing the point, knowing their points. Like, okay, they are at this point, so figure out how to get them.
We call it B.
Yeah, figure out how to dig B.
In Yoruba.
Figure out where you could go from here back to here.
Yeah.
Once you see that it's here, you got to know how to handle it. So that sensitivity part is so important. And it took years of learning. You know, it took years of getting to know each other. It took years of just being sensitive to your partner and truly getting to know your partner.
Controlling your emotions.
You know, back in the day, we probably would just blown up and just listen, forget everything. Let's go. Scatter. That's
the Ibadan you. That's I maintain my calmness.
War.
Me.
War. No, but over time we've just kind of like and you know, growth and maturity spiritually and in the flesh physically kind of helps you to understand that, okay, this is for the long run. You know what I'm saying? This is not going anywhere. So like you said, to what end is this argument going? Are we just fighting just to then not talk to each other and just be fighting? Tomorrow we're gonna have to tell each other what happened wherever we went. So it's like, let's get to the let's resolve this issue
be the goal.
And move on from it. And if it gets to the point where at that moment it looks like we can't get there, then just kind of let it go. And then we spend time together. So it's almost like there's a prerequisite to everything, in the sense where when you and your partner do things together, when you share this is my best friend. I share everything with him. So therefore, if we're fighting, it's a problem for me, because then I can't share what I need to share with you. So you need to have already started creating that kind of relationship with your partner. So therefore, when issues does arise, you're more eager to quickly end it. You understand what I'm saying? You're looking forward to just kind of squashing it so you can continue to live your life. If we're fighting, I don't have my relaxing buddy with me anymore. Now this person's upset, that person, we're in separate rooms, and we're Gary. We're just upset and swollen like Gary in one corner. Who got time for that? It's a headache. Nobody has time for that. So you want to resolve the issue quicker because that's your best friend. You want to spend time together. So I feel like you need to develop that relationship as well with your partner before you get to that point.
So I think, and that's very, very important, because what you're saying essentially is have a level of discomfort with disagreement.
Yes.
Like don't get comfortable.
Be okay. Yes.
In the disagreement.
Yes.
Let it be uncomfortable, because like you said, I need us to solve this problem quick so we can get back to our happy place.
Exactly.
Because I like that place. You're my best friend.
I don't like you being upset at me.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't like me being upset. Exactly.
You know, so I'm not comfortable with this argument right now. It makes me uncomfortable. I can't go about my day and do what I got to do freely without thinking about fighting and what happened last night and things like that. So, and this is very important, because a lot of couples are very comfortable in their disagreements. I don't care. You go on about your life and do what you got to do. I don't care. And they can go on for days, weeks, months, sometimes years without talking to each other, because they're comfortable. They've gotten to that point of comfortability in the disagreement.
There's a lot of individualities in marriage.
Yes.
That's what's happened. People always have the mentality of, when we say having individuality in marriage is a problem, they think, well, so I can't have my own identity, or I can't be my own person. That's not what that's saying. Individuality in marriage, meaning I can do without you. You go ahead and do you, I do me.
Yeah.
What that's not
something to be comfortable with.
That's not something to be okay with. Yeah. Because what that breeds is, we can have issues and you will be perfectly okay without your partner. Now, some people, they work like that and they're fine, but in our marriage, that doesn't work. Like, my head will be hurting. Our lives are so intertwined. We do a lot of things together. For me to be upset gives me a headache. for you to be upset at me gives me a headache. It's like one other thing you add to my plate.
Yeah.
Add to my plate to
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah.
That's how much it bothers
Yeah.
me. So it's like, don't encourage individuality in marriage, where
Yeah.
it's like, I'm good without you. You could do you, go to your room, I go to my room.
Mhm.
No,
Mhm.
that is the easiest way for the devil to creep in.
Absolutely.
Before you know it, oh, I'm good. I have this
Absolutely.
friend, I have that friend, and then it just that gap just keeps getting bigger.
Exactly. And I'm gonna just add one more thing, and then we're gonna close for the day, for this episode. One of the ways we also handle miscommunication, misunderstanding too, is we seek understanding amongst one another.
Yeah.
Right? Whereby you can be saying something, and I'm trying to understand, why am I not getting what you're saying?
Right.
Or why are you not getting what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I'm saying something, it's upsetting you. It's almost like you're not understanding me. Okay, so let me try and understand.
Yeah.
So we actually
It's an intentional thing.
It's an intentional thing where we seek to understand. Okay, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is this what you're saying? Because whatever you're saying, I'm receiving it this way.
Yeah.
Right? And so we seek to try and understand where the other person is coming from. Right? And I think if a lot of couples would do that,
Yeah.
there would be less misunderstanding, less miscommunication, or even if there were, it would be resolved quickly, than usual, because you're gaining, you're seeking to understand what it is the other person is actually trying to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to close it out too as well, there are different tools we use that helps us. We've talked about this before, and we definitely talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago, when we talked about what we do when it comes to faith and faith and values in our marriage. We talked about prayer. We pray together every single day.
Yeah.
Trust me, praying together, it builds your home, it builds your marriage. You get closer. You're tightening this triangle that you have with God.
Yeah.
We pray together every day. So therefore, even if we're upset at each other, we have no choice but to quickly resolve it, because we got to come together in prayer. You can't go in prayer upset at each other. Just don't even bother praying if that's the case.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it pushes us to have to kind of just get in a bed, always be in a good place with each other. So prayer helps. When you pray together, you resolve issues faster, you resolve issues quicker, because your spirit is calling onto his spirit or her spirit to go back into this. So
and we also,
and the spirit of God is there
and
too.
that is one spiritual tool. We also have a natural tool that we do, which is checking in on each other. Right? Checking in on, not just on each other, but also checking on the progress of the relationship. Right?
Yeah.
How we doing? If there are things that you've highlighted for me, there's been times we've had an argument, and we resolved the argument by agreeing to work on certain things.
Yes,
I would say,
each other
here are 3
to-dos.
different things that I want you to work on.
Exactly.
She would tell me, here are 3 different things that I would like for you to work on.
Yeah, and then we
right?
check in,
and we would check in
at
on
the end
each
of the
other.
month. So how was
we
this
looking?
month? How did
How
I
we
do?
doing? Right? How did I do
Exactly.
here and there? So we actually make the time to do that, to check in on that, to be intentional. Again,
invest intentionally and consistently in your relationship.
Exactly. And again, I would say this to the fellas out there. I'm not a man who, especially, a lot of times when you're in a leadership position, you're a pastor, you're a preacher, you almost want to make the mistake of thinking that you are just so perfect, you can never be wrong.
Yeah.
No, not for me. I'm not one of those dudes. I don't do that. I try as much as possible to make my home a comfortable home for my wife and my kids. Like, the pastor me is not the husband or daddy me, right? You should be free to come to me and talk to me about any and everything.
Yeah.
And you should be able to point out my flaws and faults without fear of, oh, we don't want to talk to MOG because man of God is going to, no.
Yeah.
There is freedom in our home to be able to say, honey, you did this I didn't like it.
To you, exactly.
You said this, and I don't think you should have said that.
Exactly.
You handled this thing this way, and I don't think that should have been the case. And there should be no fear for her being able to do that. So I'm
Yeah.
saying that to our men out there. I know you're a man. I know you're a leader in your home. I know that your family probably thinks the word of you and everything
Mm,
like that. But I want to encourage you to please, when it comes to your home, when it comes to your wife and your
spouse.
kids, um, not saying to let your guard down, but give room for flexibility, give room for freedom
Mm-hmm.
of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of them being able to relate with you in a way that doesn't make them look and that doesn't make them think twice about
Yeah.
being able to come
Come
to
to
you
you.
about A, B, C,
Exactly.
and D.
Yeah.
Create an environment of approachability. Like, can we approach you? Create an environment where you are relatable. Create an environment where people are free to express. Create an environment where it's not hot and tension is high
Yeah.
every time you're around. It's
Yeah.
very, very important. This is something I had to learn in the early stages of our marriage. It's something I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn with my kids. Something I had to learn. I had to train and teach myself because I didn't grow up like that. You
Yeah.
follow what I'm saying? So I had
Exactly.
to make an intentional choice to say
To
this is not going to be the case with my wife and my
yeah.
kids. And then when I got ordained as a pastor, I had to remind
Mind
myself
yourself.
even again, saying, okay,
Yeah.
pastor is good. And you got to maintain a level of spiritual sensitivity and things like that. But at the same time, this is family.
Yeah.
This is your wife. These are your kids. You got to be able to open that space up for them to have that kind of freedom with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. And trust me,
that
we
comfortability.
appreciate
Yeah.
that because a lot of times if women feel they can't go to their significant other, their spouse, it's miserable to
Mm,
not be able to talk to the person that
mhm.
you should be able to talk to.
Yeah.
You just put in a miserable state of, well, I'm always working to be better for you, but
Mhm.
I can express how you can be better for me
Mhm.
because you're not, I can't approach you,
Mhm.
So think about that,
Yeah.
fellas, when you're thinking about your wife or your
And never make the
significant other.
mistake of thinking you're perfect because you're not.
You're not.
You're just not.
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
just not. You know.
And even women as well, just because you do everything, you are amazing and powerful when it comes to holding down your home and putting and making sure that it's good and it's secured. But sometimes you can get lost in that.
Mhm.
You can get lost in the fact that you're taking care of everybody. Yes, you're holding everything down, you're making sure everything is kept in order, but are you putting that same energy in your marriage as
Mhm.
well? Are
Mhm.
you putting that same energy in also fulfilling the needs of your husband?
Mhm.
Because sometimes you could get lost in doing everything you're trying to do for your
Mhm.
family
Mhm.
that you forget that you're a wife as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I feel like it's also important to sit down and reflect, sit with
Mhm.
your spouse,
Mhm.
have talk to each other. You'll be
Mhm.
surprised the things your spouse say,
Mhm.
both husband and wife,
Mhm.
when you sit down and talk to them and you're like,
Mhm.
oh wow, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
And now when you're able to then work towards being better for each other,
Yeah.
trust me, you see the difference in your marriage.
Absolutely. All right. That is all we have for today.
Yes.
I hope you have been blessed. I hope we've said a tip or two to help solidify your kingdom union, not only with yourself, but also with others, and most important, with God on today.
Yes, don't forget to like, share with your friends and family, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below. What are your love languages? Let us
Yes.
know.
Let us know. What are your love languages? Write them down in the bottom. If you want all five, if you are the type of lady like Auntie over here,
I take all
who
5.
want all five, let us know in the comments. Say five, right?
5.
say five.
Say 5. I'm a comment 5. You gonna see my comment.
All right, until next time, be the light.
Be the salt.
And remember, all
All
things
things
are
are
possible
possible
if
if
you
you
believe.
believe.
Bye.
Bye.